I'm Laura. I'm the head of SEO and copywriting.
Thank you for joining us on our next part of our video series where we're going through all of the chapters of our new book called WTF is SEO. It's available on Amazon. But today we are diving into our next chapter, which is called The Technical Guide to the Galaxy, which is a little bit of a joke that I've made for far too many years, which you can tell Laura looks unimpressed about. So yeah, I guess, let's dive in. But, if you want some context or anything like that, make sure you go check out our other videos. Technical SEO. Lots of big words, stuff that can often go a little bit over people's heads. I want to make sure we keep this conversation fairly educational and a little bit more on the surface level before we dive too far deeply into all of the areas of technical SEO, just so that we can make sure that this video is really aimed at those people who are brand new to SEO and wanting to learn about it. So let's just keep that in mind, obviously, as we continue this conversation. Laura, I guess looking at technical SEO, there's a lot of places where we could go with this conversation, but it would be great to talk about a few things like site speed and core web vitals and just those common terms that people probably are hearing from either their SEO agencies or when they're doing a little bit of research. I guess, what is tech SEO? What does it involve? What's kind of the good bits and the bad bits of it?
So technical SEO is basically the technical aspects, the getting your website in shape. It's kind of like going under the hood into your website and making sure that everything's working correctly. I think with technical SEO, because it is technical and it is kind of difficult for your average person who isn't an SEO specialist or a web developer, it can feel really overwhelming and confusing, but I think the most important thing to think of when you think of technical SEO is just it exists and it matters to Google because it's just about making sure the experience of your website is a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people can get into the weeds of, nudging the website to go a 0.0001 second faster, but compromises the usability of the website. And I think the big thing of technical SEO is the reality is the absolute best website for technical SEO would be a white page with black text, and that would be it. No buttons, no other pages, that's it, that's all your content. It's always good to bear that in mind, but the reality is creating a website and making it a nice experience with a brand and all that sort of stuff, it's just a natural playoff, and you just have to decide what are you willing to compromise for usability and experience and brand for tech SEO. So Laura, could you talk to me a little bit about this kind of thing that Google uses, I guess, to monitor technical components of your website with being called web vitals? Are you able to speak a little bit about each of those?
Yeah, so you've got obviously your core web vitals, or your CWV if you want to acronym everything. So within your core web vitals, there's more acronyms. So you've got LCP, so that's your largest contentful paint. Now this one is basically what's the biggest thing or the thing on your page that takes the longest to load. And how long does it take to load? So for most websites, if you land on a page, it's going to be probably the biggest image on the page, or maybe a video if you've included one. And it's just about how long that takes to load and whether that is impacting the experience that a user has when they land on the page. And then you have CLS, so that's your cumulative layout shift. Now, this is happening less and less as websites get better and better, but what you'll find is this is where you land on a website and maybe you want to click a button, you want to go to the next page, and as you go to click the button, the website shifts, the page shifts, and the button moves, and that sort of ruins your experience. And if you can imagine you're in an e-commerce and maybe
the website's moved and then you clicked on the wrong product and then you're just annoyed.
Exactly, or in a worse scenario, you've accidentally added something to your cart. And you're like, oh, that's annoying, that feels spammy, that's ruined my experience on this website. So that's what cumulative layout shift is. And then you have IMP, which is interaction to next paint. Now, Becky had a really good analogy for this one.
Yeah, I like to think of interaction to next paint as the easiest way I can describe it is think of it like an elevator. And essentially, interaction to next pane is the time it takes you to push the button, then the time for the light to turn on, and then the time for the elevator to start actually moving. So it is kind of the response time of your website, and the fact that it actually starts registering all of that. Now, interaction to next pane is in the last year or two, I think it was, where it's actually an evolution from another core web vital called first input delay. So it's just kind of a different way of phrasing it and just a different way of measuring it as well. So yeah, that is obviously the 3 core web vitals. I guess, how do you even go about, monitoring all of these and all of that? Now, obviously there's a whole bunch of different tools out there that you can use. I know the one that we like to use at Excite Media is GT Metrics, and I just thought I'd bring up the Excite Media GT Metrics report. It's always nice when it's green. But I think a lot of people get quite hung up on things like these core web vitals. You can see there, GT Metrics refers to it as TBT, but we obviously call it the actual interaction to next pane here. But you can see all of these different grades here, and you can get all the information, but a lot of this won't mean a lot to people. But you can see structure's only 99%. Should I get hung up on the fact that it's not 100? And I think it's going back to what we said previously, where you don't necessarily want to push it all the way. You sometimes want to, make sure that you are making sure it's still a good user experience for people as well. So we're actually not worried. We're like, yep, that's good. But there's a few other things that you can do, I guess, to improve all of these core web vitals, and also the site speed, because the site speed will be a natural evolution of the largest content pane and the INP and the CLS, where it's just things like compressing your images, making sure you have a fast server. I think a very big mistake that a lot of people make when they're testing site speed is they don't test it from a local server. So we're in Australia, we should be testing it. We're an Australian-based business, so we should be testing it for Australian people. So you can see here when we've tested it on a server location in Sydney. Now, if I actually bring up another tool that you can use to monitor all of this kind of technical SEO stuff, which is Google's Lighthouse report. And I think a lot of people would be like, oh, Google's Lighthouse report, that would actually be more accurate. But actually what it does is it monitors it from a server in another country. So if I bring up here, you can see our results look worse. Even though, there's definitely some things where we should take that away and we should be like, yep, let's improve that. But actually, maybe that's actually just because it's a different server as well. So a lot of people will naturally, when they get their website, they think, great, I'm gonna get some really cheap hosting. I'll go with crazy domains or GoDaddy hosting and those sorts of things. And they're very, very affordable. But they typically will have website servers in other countries. And if you think of, you're sat in Brisbane and being like, oh, I'm gonna look for my plumber near me. If they click on your website in the search results and it has to send a request from Brisbane all the way over to, I don't know, Northern Europe or something, and then Northern Europe, the server feeds back to you, that does affect your server times and your site speed time. So always good to try and make sure you have local hosting. It's probably the biggest recommendation I can make after you go through, making sure your images are an appropriate size and all that sort of stuff, to actually make sure you have local hosting. You can also sign up for things like CDNs, which is just another acronym for Content Delivery Network, where you can actually get your actual website hosted on a server in Northern Europe. The CDNs take a cached version of your website. I'm sure everyone's kind of heard of the phrase cache, but no one really knows what it means. Essentially, it's just taking like a snapshot of your website in time and hosting it on different servers as well. So you can always look into getting a CDN, and that's very affordable as well. Really just ranted off an awful lot of information there with a lot of different acronyms. I think my biggest takeaway for anything technical SEO, and I think Laura, you can attribute to this as well, is don't get too involved in technical SEO if you're not a developer. Laura, do you want to speak a little bit, I guess, about how we do technical SEO at Excite Media?
Yeah, so we're very lucky at Excite Media that our SEO team is supported by a wonderful sort of support team with technically smarter people than us, and our developers as well, so they can get sort of stuck into our websites. And for our WordPress websites, they'll install caching plugins like WP Rocket, or they'll install plugins that automatically sort of resize and compress images as we upload them so that we're not, bloating out the website, I suppose, with large files. But as part of our sort of technical SEO, we basically just monitor it and, like we've said, make sure that we're finding the balance between a website that looks good, does the job, works well, and is scoring decently. We try not to get too hung up on, getting those A scores if it's going to impact the experience that our clients, users have, or, if an example is, I think we've done SEO before for a video agency, and obviously having a video up in your banner, it makes your site speed worse. There's not a lot that you can do about that. But for a video agency, it's important that they're demonstrating video in their banner. So that, we're always taking that into consideration and just making sure that we're doing the best that we can.
Yeah, it's all about context, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think as well, if you are doing technical SEO, it's really good to speak to your web development agency as well. As Laura said, you can use plugins to be uploading images, but it's always good to remember, you don't want to just keep adding plugins to your website because that does cause website bloat. So if you can do, caching actually on the server side with your hosting as well, that's actually the best route for you as well. I think with technical SEO, there is no hard and fast rules as well. It is so contextual depending on your website, what's on your website, who you're trying to serve it to, all of those sorts of different things that it's actually just good to talk to the people that are building it and talking to their developers to talk about how they're structuring it. And developers will love talking about how they structure their code and, getting rid of code bloat and stuff. We have a specific developer who actually used to help develop site speed plugins, and he could talk about it for hours and hours. So it's really good to actually talk to the people who are doing it and are actually in your website. And they won't be able to give you a hard and fast rule necessarily. There's best practices like there is in content and keyword research and stuff, but so much of it is dependent on your website. Laura, I guess talking about some of the things, about crawlability and indexing. I know a large part is, Google is now indexing pages mobile first. So there's that responsive aspect as well. Do you want to just touch on that for a little bit?
Yeah, so basically, if you look at where a lot of your traffic is coming from, for most businesses, it will be coming from mobiles. There are, some websites where maybe you're business to business, and for whatever reason, it does make sense that your clients are in the office searching you up and finding you on their laptops, but predominantly people are doing their searching when they're on the couch at night on their phones. And that means that you want your mobile version of your website to be optimized in the same way or a better way than your desktop version. Sometimes designers will want to sort of change the copy or pull some of the copy out on the mobile version. Don't do that. I know it often looks a lot sleeker, but you need to have the same content across both versions. And
remember, Google indexes the mobile first version of your website. So you remove that content and all that work that you put in is gone.
Exactly. So it's important that you do have that content on the mobile version, and that the mobile version is just as nice to use. Often we design websites in a desktop version, and that is because we're on our desktop when we're designing the website, and it makes sense. But it's just about making sure that your mobile version looks good, works well, and has the right content to be able to rank as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's don't make the mobile design an afterthought. There's nothing worse being on a website on your phone and the buttons are really small and it's like, do I have a big thumb, or is this actually just like not working for me? So it's all those sorts of things to think. Laura, as well, I know one thing that can happen quite a lot, especially for people that update their website a lot, is broken links as well. That's a really easy one for, business owners to just go in and fix really, really quickly.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we keep coming back to this, but it's not just about SEO, it's about the user experience. A broken link is just frustrating. If you're trying to follow a link and it's taking you to a 404, it's probably easier to just go back to the search results page and start again. A different business, unfortunately. So making sure that you're sort of monitoring where your links are going and keeping them up to date is good, not only from an SEO perspective to make sure that bots are having an easy time crawling your website, but that users are enjoying themselves on the website as well.
Absolutely. And what you just said there, crawling, is I guess the summary of all of this, isn't it? You know, core web vitals, site speed, mobile responsiveness, all XML sitemaps, robots.txt files. Obviously, so quickly touching on the robots.txt files, just instructions for bots really, of how they should crawl your website. And then XML sitemaps are just essentially for bots to figure out what page sits in the hierarchy. And it all comes down to making the websites easy to crawl. And I think that's why we say you can go for that A, you can go for that 100% score. Bots will love it, but that doesn't mean it will be a nice experience for your user. And that's why you do need to get the balance right. You know, you can stick a keyword 600 times on a page, but we know that's not a good user experience, which is why Google no longer values that. But technically for the bots, that's easier. So I think we need to come back to this overall idea of Google being a business, and not just Google, you know, OpenAI, Bing, Dodo, whoever you like to use as your browser and search engine of choice, whether that is an AI engine as well. These are businesses, and it costs them money to crawl every single page on the website. So that's actually what technical SEO is. It's essentially making the website as easy as possible for the bots to crawl your website. So broken links. If a bot can't crawl through that link, that's no good for them. If a bot's waiting ages for your server to load, that takes up more resources and stops that bot from crawling other pages, which is why you want a fast site speed. Largest content paint, you know, like that, it's a bot waiting again. So that's actually what technical SEO is. If you really get down to the fundamentals, it's making it your website as easy as possible, not just for users, but also for those bots to crawl. And if you think about it as that 0.00001 cent to crawl every page, but there's 13 billion pages online, it takes obviously a lot of money for Google to run. And that's why, you know, Google ads are getting more expensive and things, because it's more and more costly. And Google doesn't necessarily want to crawl every page. I always like to think about what your crawl budget is on your website. And I know that's an interesting phrase to use, but you know, how much does Google want to attribute to you? And that's why things like topical authority, where Google actually sees you as an expert, they'll want to come back and they'll want to spend that money crawling your website because your content is valuable, and because your website is easy to crawl as well. So I think that's honestly what all of this comes down to. I think something that also that you touched on, Laura, that I also want to reiterate is that use of developers. There's a lot of SEO specialists out there that will do their own technical SEO, and that's fantastic. But you can't necessarily be a master of everything. And that's why it's really important to, for something like technical SEO, really try and engage an expert if you can, whether that is a web developer or an agency that has a team of developers working with SEO specialists to do this. On a lot of big marketing companies, they might have an SEO specialist, but they'll also have a content marketing specialist and a developer and all of those sorts of things. So ensure that you have someone who understands your code and understands your website before they start getting in and mucking things. Because you can turn on a caching plugin and you can tick those buttons, but very, very quickly you'll find out that you've broken something that you didn't even know about until 6 months down the track, unless you're thoroughly testing your website regularly. So nothing I can say more than make sure that don't touch things that you don't necessarily understand. Always engage professional help in the way that you would anything else. You know, if you're a complex business, you wouldn't necessarily do your own tax return, you'd go to an accountant. So it's always good to think about that. For the same for technical SEO. It's one of those areas that if your website is important and it's your 24/7 salesperson, it might not actually be best for you to be the person touching it. Obviously, that is a very brief overview of technical SEO. Obviously, don't want to get too much into the weeds of how to do those sorts of things, but even basic things. Check for broken links. Check what pages are being indexed on your website. You know, you don't need a thank you page being indexed in Google. Don't waste the crawl budget. Just make sure that you are not necessarily going for those green 100%ers. Always make sure that the usability is first. Laura, do you have anything else to add on that topic? Anything perhaps that I haven't mentioned, as obviously the brief overview that this is?
No, I don't think so. I think it just comes back to, like we said, with all things, there's a playoff between what's perfect for technical SEO, what's going to make sure your website is still working as it should, what your designer wants the website to look like. There's all these sort of competing ideas of the website, and it's finding the happy middle ground.
Absolutely. Just find a way to make all those stakeholders happy, but it is a compromise. It's a balance. So that's awesome. If you have any questions about technical SEO, leave a comment below and we'll do our best to answer them. But also, like we said, you need a team of specialists really looking at your technical SEO. You can go to www.excitemedia.com.au and have a chat with our specialists who are all built ready to help you out with that. Anything else, make sure you go check out our earlier videos. Otherwise, we will see you next week for our video discussing all things branding, a favorite topic of Laura's. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.